You know, my dear nerd, we are both very middle-aged by this point. I don't know about you, but I look around and I see all of my friends having different priorities. They want to start families, they want to find partners that love them, they want to have children that would just run towards them and scream, "Daddy, Daddy, I missed you, Daddy," and then they would hug all of them. And then the partner will come as well, and he would hug the partner and the kids as well. And most people my age, and most probably yours according to analytics, would be in their happy place. They would feel so happy with the scenario. They would be like, "Please God, whatever you do, do not take this away. I'm in my happy place now." And for these people, our own age, I just want to say, what the heck are your priorities, my dear nerd? This is messed up. What you should actually be focusing your energy on is finding something like the Steam Deck, but without any of the bad sides of actually owning a Steam Deck. You see, my dear nerd, I used to have a Steam Deck, an LCD model, and I was very proud of it. I got it for like $200 off some guy on the Romanian version of eBay, and then I sent it back to Valve because it had a battery reading issue, and Valve sent me a brand new one, and I was the happiest camper in the world. The Steam Deck was at least double the price here. But then I sold it because I'm not a smart person. I don't know why you listen to me. Like, I literally imagine one of those monkeys with those things in my head doing like this, and that's the entirety of my thought process sometimes. Yeah, I sold my Steam Deck. I still regret that to this day. But objectively speaking, there were things about it that I never liked. Things that were downright exhausting for me, like always adjusting the TDP to consume as little battery as possible. I used to do this with every single game because I wanted to milk at least 3 to 5 hours on a good day, and while this worked because I got a lot of battery life from it through these optimizations, the fact of the matter is that it was very exhausting to do, and at the end of the day it tired me a lot, and I had a weird bittersweet taste in my mouth with this. And ever since then, I've been looking for a very similar experience, an experience where I could transpose the games from my PC or from the cloud into a form factor akin to the Steam Deck or similar to any other PC x86 handheld like the ROG Ally, Lenovo Legion Go, and take your pick really. But I always felt that these handhelds were always limited by the fact that they were x86 in terms of architecture, meaning that they were nothing more than laptops dressed up as handhelds. And this inevitably made them have very sucky battery lives, among other things. But fortunately there is a trade-off. This right here is the Abxylute One, or Abxylute One, depending on who you ask.
Abxylute.
Basically, this name right here, you choose how you want to pronounce it. The Abxylute One is specifically created for you to stream stuff on it. And while it can do some Android stuff like emulation, it really wasn't designed for that. But if you use it for streaming, it's one of the best devices that can actually uplift the way in which you experience games, as long as you have, and I apparently have to say this in many videos nowadays, but as long as you have the proper perspective with this. You see, this is not a standalone device. You might look at it and you might think this is an actual handheld, but don't be naive, my dear nerd. This is more or less an extension of your PC or of your subscription for cloud gaming that you use. If you have the right perspective and if you see this as a companion device, then you're gonna have the best time in the world with this. If not, if you want to use it like an emulation device, then you're gonna hate your purchase and you're gonna hate me and you're gonna say, "Vlad, why did you talk and recommend this thing?" Because I will recommend this thing, even though there are quite a few drawbacks with it. But again, perspective, my dear nerds. If you use it right, then it will be, as it is with me right now, part of your permanent tech stack. I am not kidding when I say that this little mother flipper, the Abxylute One, has skyrocketed into my main let's call it, set of gadgets that I use on the daily. And if you know me, you know how colossal of an honor this is. I wouldn't actually use this in my free time if I wouldn't think that it actually has a natural place in the use cases that I have. Before I go on, my dear nerds, I just want to quickly mention that this particular Abxylute or Abxylute unit, I still don't know how to pronounce this,
Abxylute.
was provided to me by Abxylute themselves.
Abxylute.
But it's very important for you to know that they had no input in this video whatsoever. My thoughts are my own, no money exchanged hands, and this video is the definition of an independent video. Now, having said that though, let me kiss this thing's backside for a bit, because when it comes to certain things, it outright deserves it. When it comes to the hardware side of it, this actually looks nice. This is one of the main highlights of this handheld. Look, there's no way around it. It looks futuristic and it looks thin. It looks like something out of the future almost. And granted, this is kind of an optical illusion because this is not thinner than most tablets, but because of the way in which the grips are designed, this just gives it a very, very modern feel. Jesus, I'm starting to sweat in this tiny office. In terms of ergonomics, it's surprisingly comfortable. I would not advise that you get a grip for this unless you actually feel like you need one. I had no problem with extended gaming sessions, but there is one thing that I simply hated about this handheld. You might not have noticed, because I cleverly hid it. Wait a second. But one of the thumbsticks is actually blue. I don't know why Abxylute did this. For me, personally, it breaks the whole immersion, the whole flipping design of it. And I actually had a bit that I wanted to do. You see, I love TechDweeb. I find TechDweeb to be one of the most entertaining channels out there. And when he reviewed the Abxylute One, he actually spray painted this blue thumbstick. And here I am, all ready to show some solidarity with TechDweeb. And I was ready to paint this mother flipper black. You know, when two nerds, or when a dweeb and a nerd paint thumbsticks together, that's like a blood bond. That's as serious of a connection between bros that you can have with someone. But unfortunately, I think Abxylute saw TechDweeb's video and they sent me some of these thumbstick covers.
Are you happy now?
Which just so happens to undo the blue thumbstick here. And with this thing on, it actually looks like a normal flipping thumbstick, and the whole blue thumbstick experiment seems to be basically undone. But TechDweeb, if you're watching this, I want you to know that even though I didn't paint the thumbstick black, I painted it in my heart. In my heart, I used 5 spray cans of camaraderie, and just as I said in our texts, dweebs and nerds are always natural allies, and this thumbstick will always be black in one way or another to commemorate that. Anyway, my dear nerd, I'm actually not done with the physical aspects of this. So, 7-inch screen, 2 thumbsticks, the D-pad, to be honest, I've felt worse, I've felt better, it's serviceable, nothing to scream home and brag to your girlfriend about. You know, by the way, girlfriends love when you brag about the quality of the D-pads in your handhelds. You should totally do that. But the D-pad is okay. People said that the thumbsticks are bad. Personally, for me, maybe I'm a basic nerd, but for me they are usable. The buttons are quite okay. I don't know if you hear, they are basic membrane buttons. We have whole sticks and whole triggers, which is super nice. And we have a USB-C hole, an audio jack hole, a micro SD card hole, and a microphone hole here. Volume buttons and an on-off button. And that's basically it. Overall, it's a very nice package. It feels good in the hand. Should I say it? And honestly, I think this is the best feature about it. The fact that it feels like the opposite of a Steam Deck. It's not heavy, it's not clunky, it doesn't have active cooling. And the experience, if you quickly forget that you're streaming, is more or less identical. But don't get me wrong, my dear nerds, every device that you have in your house with Android can do what this thing does. It's just that this is a complete package, and if you treat it as a dedicated handheld for streaming, it can be a pretty flipping seamless experience. Look at this B-roll. This is my PC running on this handheld, and I need you to imagine what this is. I started Tomb Raider playing on my PC, and then at one point in my tiny closet here, I really need to give you a tour at one point. Come with me. So this is the wall, and let's go this way. This right here is the other corner. In my tiny closet, because to heck with ventilation and other things, after half an hour here I basically cook. And I don't want to cook. I don't want to slow broil. I don't want to be medium rare, my dear nerds. I am a human made out of flesh, like most of you. Not all of you, most of you. And I crave human things like comfort. I want to sit on a couch and just resume my flipping game. And that's what I do. Look, I opened this video telling you how much I missed the Steam Deck. Seeing it like this made me giggle on the inside. There's no other word for it. It looks like a Steam Deck, it acts like a Steam Deck. It's way better in many ways than a Steam Deck because this doesn't have the same sucky battery as any x86 handheld like the Steam Deck would have, because it doesn't run the games locally offline on this thing, meaning that there's no difference whatsoever in battery consumption if you play Tales of the Neon Sea, which I totally recommend, by the way. It's a cool retro-like game, or something modern like Cyberpunk. The battery drain is exactly the same because what you're actually doing is streaming very low latency video feed onto this thing. And this is actually the perfect segue, because as a streaming companion, you will most probably use it either for Moonlight or for Geforce Now. And a quick context for people who don't know what Moonlight is, you need it on your PC, even if you have a potato PC. Moonlight basically allows you to stream anything from your PC onto anything else, like your mobile phone, your Chromebook, your tablet, your whatever. It basically interconnects everything in the most beautiful way possible. It's like Geforce Now for poor people like me, but also for people who want more control. Maybe you want to stream a game that isn't in the Geforce Now catalog. What are you gonna do then? Huh? Moonlight, that's what you're gonna do. Moonlight is like the shiny armor of open source apps/projects that makes your life a million times better. Forget the whole thing about family and happiness. Moonlight and a device like this can create the environment where you feel genuinely happy with yourself. Well, to be fair, for a brief moment, because after that the darkness comes again, but you know, for a brief period you keep the darkness at bay. But anyway, I don't want to go on silly rants. Moonlight on this runs perfectly. It runs at 1080p 60 frames per second. I set it to 30 megabits of bandwidth, which runs flawlessly. I had no hiccup, not a single hiccup on Moonlight. It played just as well as Moonlight would play on my Y700 2023, and the experience was more or less the same, except for the fact that this is a way thinner package. This doesn't make any sound because it has no active cooling, and it's just a pleasure to use. However, my dear nerds, there is some drama in our castle here, because I've had some tinkering that I needed to do when it came to Geforce Now and the Abxylute One handheld.
Abxylute.
Meaning that, for some reason, I couldn't get a stable connection if I tried any bitrate bigger than 15 megabits per second. And I am stumped. I don't understand why. Because again, on Moonlight, I had a way higher video bitrate and it worked like a champ. If I hadn't tested Moonlight, my first instinct would have been, this thing is seriously weak, it can't even handle a 15 megabit bitrate. But because it could on Moonlight, well, I'm just as clueless as you. I don't know what the flip is happening there. But the good news is that 15 megabits of bitrate is still good enough for full HD. Yeah, you have some image compression going on there, but unless you're literally going into full-on spy mode and trying to especially look for that, the image itself will still look very good, and most importantly, the experience itself will be borderline, well, I don't want to say exceptional, but very, very nice. However, when it comes to emulation, because I need to mention this, there's no way around it. It doesn't perform well. This thing was not meant to have more power than it needs to properly stream stuff. You can do Dreamcast, basically, my nerds. I tried the Soul River version of Dreamcast. It worked well.
Death would be a release next to this travesty.
You can also do PlayStation 1 and below, Game Boy Advance, you know, all the consoles in the 16-bit and 8-bit era. It runs all of them beautifully. However, it doesn't run PSP, and you might think, how the heck does it not run PSP? Well, to be fair, it runs some PSP. If I try Family Guy, for example, then Family Guy runs well. If I try God of War, then that runs like poop. It really runs like poop, and because it's an Android handheld, I really didn't expect this. I associate this level of emulation performance with, you know, the Linux emulation handhelds, and not with an Android handheld. However, I get reminded of what this is. That's why I kept saying about perspective. This is a streaming device, my dear nerds. This is made to stream, and this is a gateway. You shouldn't consider this a separate device. You should consider this a gateway for your PC to, how should I put this in a non-cheesy way, to leave its body and to allow you to enjoy it outside of the place where your PC is. It can be on the couch, it can be on the chair, it can be while you sit with your wife in bed and she'll be very happy with this. Anything else outside of streaming is considered a bonus. The thing is that you must know what to expect from it. For example, I set up the Beacon launcher here, which is my go-to front end, and it works like a charm. All of the games from the platforms that I mentioned work like a charm on this, and streaming as well works like a charm. Anything else outside of this doesn't work like a charm, and that's a thing that you need to know. So, would I recommend it? Well, like I said, it really depends on how you want to look at it. The thing is that outside of its use cases, it doesn't do anything spectacular, but within its designated use case, it actually does its job exactly as advertised. And you need to understand that as tinkerers, as people in the retro emulation space, we will have the tendency to push the Abxylute One to its limits. But when we do that, we kind of are not using it properly. For streaming though, honestly, it's now my go-to device. For streaming, this is the one thing that I grab right now. And trust me, I have many options by this point. I have the Lenovo Y700, I have my phone. Well, actually that's it. But I don't need more, because I have a screen variety, and when it comes to 8.8 inches, 7 inches, which is this guy, and 6.8 inches, or 6.7 inches, which is my phone, I always end up choosing this. So, links in the description if you want to get it. And while you're doing me favors, my dear nerd, also please don't forget to subscribe. I would appreciate it immensely if you did this. And if you want to support me more directly, feel free to either become a channel member or a Patreon. It doesn't matter which option you choose, honestly, you will still end up on this wall of fame with all of these awesome people that decided to actively support me and to help me make new videos. So yeah, tell me what you think. Do you think that this has a proper place in one's life? Would you see this as useful? Would you think that this is too much of a niche handheld for you, or would you actually want something like this? I'm genuinely curious what you think, and yeah, leave your comments below. I'll make sure to answer to almost every comment. I will try to answer to almost every comment, but if I don't reach you don't be upset at this, okay? I still love you, I hope you know that. I love you with all my heart. So until the next video, my dear nerd, this is all from me. I honestly can't wait to finish this video. I am sweating bullets in this tiny box in which I am. God flipping heck. This heat wave in which I'm in is slowly cooking me, but I just wanted to push this video out for you guys. I like this thing, and I want to start a conversation. I'm curious to hear what you think of the Abxylute One. In any case, see you in the next video, my dear nerds. Bye.